I am Reed. I am 27, just an average dude. I've made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. So picture this. I used to be that guy, the one who thought he was just a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. Seriously. I'd be looking at my bank account, seeing it dangerously close to zero, maybe even a little overdrawn, and I'd still be thinking, oh, it is fine. I am just in a rough patch. My big break is coming. I am going to be rich any day now. Man, oh man, was I delusional? I was a total mess in my early 20s. I was a paycheck to paycheck kind of guy, always swiping the credit card, racking up a little debt here and there. I had absolutely no plan for my money, no plan for my future, just kind of drifting along. It felt like I was living in a fog, but then it hit me like a ton of bricks. My 20s are supposed to be the foundational years. This is when you set yourself up for the rest of your life. And I was just not. I was heading straight for a financial disaster, and I realized I had to change. I started digging into personal finance, learning about saving, investing, budgeting. I had to kick some serious bad spending habits to the curb. And let me tell you, it was easy. It was a grind, but slowly I started to turn things around. I paid off my debts, built up an emergency fund, and started putting my money into low-risk investments. It has been a journey for sure, and I am still learning every single day. I am not some financial guru, not by a long shot. I am just a normal dude who has been there, made the mistakes, and is trying to figure it all out, just like you. And one of the biggest eye-openers for me was realizing how deeply ingrained this temporarily embarrassed millionaire mindset is, and how much it actually works against us. It is this unwavering, statistically impossible belief that you are not poor, but rather just a temporarily embarrassed millionaire or billionaire, as John Steinbeck famously put it. It is the idea that you might be in the trenches now, but soon things are going to turn around, and you too will become unfathomably wealthy. And naturally, if you amassed a fortune of billions of dollars, you wouldn't want to pay it all in taxes, so why should Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or Taylor Swift have to? We hear stories about Jeff Bezos, right? This dude's net worth goes up by like $60 billion in a year, and he pays, 4.5% in income taxes. Meanwhile, I am over here, last year busting my ass, and I paid 32% of my income to taxes, and I bet a lot of you are in the same boat, somewhere in that 20 to 35% range, depending on how much you make and where you live. It is like, what the hell, too bad, you are not Jeff Bezos, huh? But it is not just Bezos. This is some isolated incident. A report from ProPublica showed that other billionaires like Warren Buffett, Michael Bloomberg, and even that elongated muskrat guy, they all pay obscenely low tax rates. And in one particular year, Jeffy B even managed to pay less than 1% after making $99 billion. It is insane. And what really gets me, what really grinds my gears, is that you see normal working class people who are probably just like you and me, defending these guys, honestly, almost worshiping them. The same megalomaniacs who are, let us be real, directly responsible for a huge chunk of the problems in the world. I am talking about the surging cost of housing, gas, and groceries, the stagnation of wages, the lack of funding for healthcare and other social services, the constant inchitification of everything we own, and yeah, even the destruction of the planet we live on. You can thank billionaires for all of it. They spend their time dodging taxes, busting unions, buying governments, price gouging us to death, colonizing our natural resources, including the air that we breathe. Also, they can launch themselves into space, buy yachts, and private islands. And yet, there is no shortage of people living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to make ends meet, who somehow believe that these billionaires are the heroes we need. This phenomenon of the working class billionaire apologist, it is a masterclass in Stockholm Syndrome, if you ask me. And that is what I really want to talk about today. I want to talk about how regular, everyday people like you and I have somehow been brainwashed into defending a tech mogul's right to pay zero taxes, while we standing in the grocery store aisle debating whether or not name brand toilet paper is a justifiable luxury. Because that is wild, man. That is absolutely wild. So the primary cause of this phenomenon, this collective delusion, is something called the Great American Pipe Dream, and contrary to its name, this dream now spans far past the borders of just the United States. It is this unwavering, statistically impossible belief that you are not poor, but rather just a temporarily embarrassed millionaire or billionaire. That you may be in the trenches now, but soon things are going to turn around and you too will become unfathomably wealthy. And naturally, if you amassed a fortune of billions of dollars, you wouldn't want to pay it all in taxes. So why should Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or Taylor Swift have to? You might not have ever uttered the exact words, "I am going to be a billionaire one day," but at least subconsciously, many people believe on some level that they could become rich, and that they could then empathize with the position that billionaires are in. This delusion is primarily rooted in people's inability to comprehend just how much $1 billion truly is, let alone the hundreds of billions of dollars that these tech CEOs have, and how far away they are from any flicker of normalcy or relatability. Like, realistically speaking, it is hard, but not impossible, for the average person to make $1 million or maybe even a few $1 million. Working in a solid career and diligently investing for decades could definitely get you there. Bootstrapping a successful small business could potentially get you there even faster if you are lucky. But the difference between $1 million and $1 billion is roughly $1 billion. Think about that for a second. Now, just quickly on the topic of work, as you guys know, I am someone who really values simplicity and who prioritizes my personal time a lot. Like, the less time I can spend worrying about my work, the happier I am. So I am always looking for ways to save time and make my life easier, and a tool that has been helping me do just that recently is today's sponsor, Whisperflow. Whisperflow is voice-to-text that actually works in every app and on any device that you use with it. You can get your work done quicker and with more accuracy, even when multitasking. Whether I am working through a video idea while going for a walk or catching up on messages while making dinner, Whisperflow lets me capture all my ideas organically and write them all out coherently and entirely hands-free. Check this out. Hi, Anna. Thanks for following up. I would like to move forward with this, but the scheduling does really work on my end. I am already fully booked for May and June. June and July. So we'd be looking at like August, I guess, if we do this. Let me know if that works for you. Thanks in the past. Voice-to-text dictation has been awful. Siri never gets it right, and you have to end up going back and correcting all of her mistakes. But Whisperflow is an entirely different ballgame. All you have to do is speak naturally. Even if you stumble on your words or correct yourself mid-sentence or use uncommon names, it doesn't matter because Whisperflow adapts and polishes your speech in real time. It even nails the spelling for unique names and terms. So if you are looking to streamline your workflow and take back your time, click the link below to try Whisperflow for yourself and get started with 1 free month of Whisperflow Pro, and a big thanks to Whisperflow for sponsoring this video. So, just to put this into more tangible terms, consider the fact that 1,000,000 seconds is about 11 days, but 1,000,000,000 seconds is over 31 years. Let that sink in. If you earned $100,000 a year, and you paid no taxes and you saved every single penny of it, it would take you 10 years to get to $1 million, but it would take you 10,000 years to get to $1 billion. In fact, if you had just $1 billion, you could spend $10,000 every single day, and it would take you 273 years to run out of money, which means that if you started spending that $10,000 a day back when the U.S. Declaration of Independence was signed, you still have about 25 years of shopping left to do as of today. It is an absurd amount of money for any one person to have. And again, we're only talking about a single billion here, let alone the hundreds of billions of dollars that some of these freaks have. But they've earned it. You say this may be a hard pill to swallow, but no one earns $1 billion. There is no amount of hard work that can make you a billionaire. The only thing that can allow one person to accumulate that much wealth is widespread exploitation of millions of working-class people. The only reason that Jeff Bezos has over $200 billion is because his employees who are actually generating Amazon's revenue are paid pennies by comparison. And they reworked to the bone and they rescrewed out of benefits and made to pee in water bottles instead of taking bathroom breaks. Then he takes all of this hoarded wealth and he uses tax loopholes to ensure that he pays a lower tax rate than even a teenager who is working at McDonald's, which only serves to further gut the working class of resources they need because he hasn't paid them enough. Like really, there are only 2 options here. You either pay your employees well and give them health insurance, or you pay taxes so the government can provide it to them. How about new? But it even goes so much further than that, because the only way that a billionaire can exist is by extracting and hoarding wealth from all of us, even those of us who don't work specifically for their companies. And this is because of something called wealth transfer. Essentially, there is a capped amount of money in circulation, and that money transfers back and forth between all people all the time, right? Like money gets transferred when you buy or sell something, money gets transferred when you work or when you hire someone to work for you, or when you invest or when you receive an inheritance, or I guess even when you win the lottery money. Transferring from one place to another. You are receiving or distributing money that you originally got from someone or somewhere else. And so, in order for someone like Elon Musk to accumulate a net worth of $800 billion, he has to extract that money from someone or somewhere else and transfer it to himself. In order for billionaires to exist and to have as much money as they do, people have to be living in poverty. It is a very simple book of checks and balances. And if it were not for people being piss poor, no one would be able to have billions of dollars. Which is to say that their main objective is to even so much just to get richer. It is specifically to keep you as poor as possible, because that is what actually makes them richer. Like, in order for you to see yourself as somebody who should be making more money. Who needs to be making more money, who is maybe struggling to get by, or who can afford the basics, while simultaneously defending a billionaire's right to be a billionaire, is just a fundamental misunderstanding of economics 101. Those 2 ideas can exist at the same time. And let us also not forget the fact that money is ultimately just currency. It is just paper that we exchange for the things that we need and the things that we want. Money is traded for housing and food and water and education and medical care and all these other things that we need to survive. And there are billions of people in the world doing without these basic necessities. while a handful of supervillains hoard more money than they could ever spend in even 1,000 lifetimes. At these numbers, there isn't even a tangible or practical use for it. It is just a schlong measuring contest between a bunch of socially stunted losers trying to impress one another. I like to think about it this way. Let's say I was very wealthy, and I had the ability to go to every single grocery store within a 1,000-mile radius of my home and buy up every single last piece of food that they had. Would that be an ethical thing for me to do? I would obviously never even be able to come close to eating all the food before it is spoiled, and other people would be starving because of my greed, because there is nothing left for them to eat. But it is not illegal. Like, I paid for it fair and square, so should someone be able to force me to share that food or prevent me from buying it all in the first place? Or should I be able to kill people just because I like collecting and hoarding obscene amounts of groceries? If you think that I should be required to share that food or that I shouldn't be allowed to buy it all, then you should also be able to easily see why no one person should be able to have billions of dollars. And if you think that I should be able to starve millions of people for shits and gigs, maybe it is time to stop eating Tide Pods. But despite all of this, millions of people around the world still hold on to this delusional belief that billionaires are great people and that one day they could reasonably be in that same position. But where does this delusion stem from? That is what I am always wondering, like, how did we get here? By far one of the most successful marketing ploys in history has to have been the bootstrap theory. The idea that we all on an even playing field, and that if you just pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and you just hustle and grind hard enough, you can achieve anything. But that is objectively untrue. We all love the idea of a self-made success story. But in the case of the billionaire class, they love to conveniently downplay the fact that none of them are even close to what we would call self-made. Like, we hear about Zuck starting Facebook as a college student in his dorm, but we leave out the fact that he was attending Harvard, one of the most exclusive and prestigious schools in the world, where he was surrounded by extremely wealthy and high-connected people. We hear about Bezos starting Amazon in his parents' garage, but not the $300,000 his parents gave him to get started. We hear about Elon Musk being this super genius, but not about how his father owned an emerald mine in South Africa. We hear about Taylor Swift writing songs and touring around playing shows as a teenager to build up her fan base, but not the $300,000 investment her father made in her record label, or the fact that her mother had the ability to just drop everything and move with her to Nashville to help launch her career. And none of this is to say that these people didn't work hard or that they aren't talented at what they do. Well, except for Elon Musk, I am convinced that guy is but all the talent and all the hard work in the world would not have amounted to anything if these people weren't born on third base to begin with. Like, I don't know about you, but my parents couldn't just give me $300,000 to start a business, no matter how good their intentions were or how great they thought my ideas were. My mom couldn't leave her job and pack up her entire life to move across the country with me so I could chase my dreams, and my dad doesn't own an emerald mine, at least not that I am aware of. There are people all around the world who are smarter, harder working, and more talented than any famous person or any billionaire you've ever heard of. But they will never become a billionaire because they don't have the leg up that is needed to get there. Another big part of this ploy has centered around something that I don't think is often talked enough about, but it is convincing poor people that they aren't poor. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to give the public easy access to consumer debt, because when the average person thinks about wealth, they don't think about it in numbers. They think about it in terms of material possessions that they can and can't afford. So if every time that you wanted to buy something, you had no way of doing so, you'd be very aware of just how poor you really are, because you feel like you are constantly missing out.